Hello Divination and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to build and create an image layout with overlapping and vertical text. So without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let me show you how we managed to create this design. Okay, so before we get started, there are a few things that we're going to need in place. So firstly, we're going to need a brand new Divi theme installed and activated. Secondly, we're going to use the free restaurant layout pack. And from that layout pack, we need to upload the restaurant gallery.json. Finally, we need to make sure that if you're using your own images, they need to have the dimensions of at least 800 by 500 pixels. All right, so right now I'm here in my admin dashboard. So what I'm going to do is to create a brand new page. So I'm going to come over here to pages and click on add new. So you can call this page whatever you want. So in this case, I'm just going to call this gallery. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on use the Divi builder. And now to load my layout, I'm going to come over here to load layout. And then I'm going to search for my restaurant gallery. Okay, so I'm just going to, in fact, I may just even search for it here to make things easier for me. And here it is. So I'm going to click on it and then I'm going to upload this layout. So I'm going to click on use this layout. So this may take a bit of time as it's being downloaded onto our website because this is coming straight from the Divi servers. So you just have to be a little bit patient. Okay, so now our layout has been added to our page. Now I'm going to click on publish and then I'm going to move over into the Visual Builder and continue designing our page. So I'm going to click on use Visual Builder. So now we can see the complete design. So I'm going to add my first section content. So I'm going to come over here, click this plus button and create a brand new section. I'm going to click on regular. And then over here on our columns, we're going to have two columns. So I'm going to select that. Okay, so I'm going to add my image module. So I'm going to search for it and then select it. I'm going to come over here to image URL to add my image. So the image I'm going to use is right here. So I'm going to select it and then click on upload an image. So we need to also add another image here. So what I'm going to do is to save this for now and then clone this. Now I'm going to go into the settings of this image module and then add the image that I need. So I'm going to click here on upload and then I'm going to select my image like that, click upload an image. Next, we need to add an image module. So I'm going to click this plus button here, search for my image module, select it. And then over here, I'm going to come to upload. And the image that we need here is this one right here. So I'm going to select it and then click upload an image. Okay, so now I'm going to save. Next, we're also going to need a text module with some dummy text. So instead of me going through the whole process of creating another one, I am just going to clone this one here and then just drag it into position. So I'm just going to hold this move icon and then I'm going to drag it just below the image like that. And then finally, I need to add some more text. So I'm going to click this plus button, search for my text module. And then I'm going to add my word in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and save. Okay, so let's move on to our next step. And this is to create a brand new section. So I'm going to come over here, click this plus button. And this section is going to be a regular section. So I'm going to select regular and then single column. Select that. Okay, so what we need to do next is to add some images here in this row. So the image I need to use is this one right here. So I'm just going to drag this over here to the top like that. Okay, so that's the first image. We also need to add another image. So I'm just going to scroll down here until I get the image that I need to use. So it's this one that I need to use. I'm going to drag it again below this image right here. I'm going to let go. So these are the two images that we need. Now I need to add another row. So I'm going to click this plus button here. And then next I'm going to add my columns. So for this, I'm going to need 3 columns. I'm going to select that. So in the far left column, I am going to drag an image from the images here below. So the image I need is this one right here. So I'm going to drag it into position like that. Right, next over here in the middle column, I need to add a text module So I'm going to search for it, and then I'm going to add the name desserts, and then save that. Now below this, I'm also going to need some dummy text. So instead of creating a new text module, I'm going to come over here to the top and then just clone this one here and then drag it into position. So I'm going to drag it below the word desserts like that. And if the text is a bit too much, you can always go in and delete some of it. On the far right here, all we need is a text module with the words coffee. So I'm just going to clone this one here, drag it into position, and then I'm just going to rename this to coffee like that. Now let's move on and create our third section. So I'm going to click this plus button here to add our section, click on regular. Now what I need here is 2 halves. So I'm going to go with these 2 columns. So to make things easier for me, I'm going to drag an image. So the image I'm going to need here is this one. So I'm going to drag it into position like that. Next, I'm going to need a text module. So with some dummy text. So I'm going to use this one right here on the top just to save me from creating another one. So I'm just going to clone it and then drag my text into position below the image like that. And then finally, I also need the title here. So I'm going to clone it and drag it into position like that. And then I'm going to rename this to crab like that. Now you can see here that I'm able to work really fast by cloning, because this saves me a lot of time to go in and recreate these modules step by step. So over here to the right, I also need to start off with a text module. So I'm going to click this plus button here, search for text. And then I'm going to paste my title in here, which is seafood. I'm going to save it. Next, I'm also going to need some text to go under there. So I'm going to duplicate or clone this text module right here and then drag my contents over here to the right below the title. And then I'm also going to need an image. So the image I'm going to need is this one right here. So I'm going to drag this into position. Okay, and the image needs to go below the text like that. Right, so this takes care of everything that we need in order for us to create our page. So what we need to do before we continue is to delete this section that we have here where we got all our images from. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to click here to delete. So let's start off by adjusting all our titles. So I'm going to come over here to this word bake, go into the text module settings, click on design. So the first thing we're going to do here is to change the font. So over here, I'm going to click on default and then change it to Playfair display. So I'm going to search for that and it's right here. The font weight needs to be set to bold. Right, so let's come over here to the text size. So this needs to be set to 72 like that. And then we might as well adjust the sizes for the other displays, which is the mobile device and the tablet. So I'm going to come over here to this little icon and then click on tablet. And for the tablet size, this needs to be set at 50. And then I'm going to come over here to the smartphone and set it to 42. Okay, now I'm going to go to my back to my desktop tab, and then I'm going to come over here to my letter spacing, and now I'm going to set this to 12 pixels. And then my line height needs to be set at 1 EM. So what we need to do next is, instead of going through all these steps to add them to our other titles, what we're going to do is to copy the style and then paste it to all our headers. So what I'm going to do for now is to save, and then I'm going to come over here to my expand settings, click on wireframe view. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to my text and then copy the style. So I'm going to right click on copy style, and then I need to paste the style to these titles here. So fresh and starters. So let's go ahead and do that. So my first text here is right here. So I'm going to do a right click and paste style. So I'm going to paste it. I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to paste it again one more time here. And then I'm going to do it on this row. So I'm going to right click, paste style, and then I'm going to do the same over here. Paste my style and do the same here. So pretty much that's all we need to do. Now let's take a look and preview and make sure that we have all our styles to the right headings. So I'm going to click desktop view. So back over here, we can see now that we have everything in place. That's looking great. And then over here, we also have all our titles in place. So what we're going to do here is to come to this word starters, click on the module settings, design, text. So we need to make sure that the size for this is set to 42. So we need to do the same to the word dessert and coffee. So I'm going to come over here to my module settings, click on design, text, change this to 42, like that. And then finally, we need to come over here to the word coffee and do the same thing. Click on design, text, and then we're going to change this to 42, like that. So the second wave of design is to adjust our sizes, margins, and box shadows. So let's go to section 1. So this is our first section. We're going to click on our settings, click on design. Okay, so let's start working on our image right here. So I'm going to click on my module settings and let's go to the custom margins. So I'm going to click on design. Okay, so let's adjust our margins. So I'm going to come over here to spacing. So for the margin bottom, I'm going to set this to minus 30%. And then over here to the left, we're going to set this to minus 20%. Now that we've done our negative margins, let's go ahead and save. Now we need to come over here to this image just below this one here. Click on the module settings, design. Now we need to go straight to our box shadow. So over here on the box shadow, we're going to select the first option, which is right here. And you can see as I've just clicked that, we have this effect of the box shadow already happening. However, we still need to go in and make some changes. So we want to start off with the horizontal position. So here on the horizontal position, we need to set this to minus 18 pixels, like that. Next, we need to come over here to the vertical position. So same thing. We're going to set this to minus 18 pixels. The blur strength needs to be set at 50. And then the spread strength needs to be set at minus 7. And then all we have to do now is to save. So I'm going to go ahead and save. Now it's time to come into this dummy text below this image. So let's go in and click on this image settings icon. Click on design. So what we need to adjust here is just the width. So I'm going to click on sizing. And then I'm going to make sure our width is set to 65%. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and save. And then we need to customize this dummy text over here. So I'm going to click my module settings, click on design. This time we're going to go to spacing. And then we're going to come over here to our custom margin and set it at 30%. So we're done with this first section. Let's move on to our next section. So I'm just going to scroll down here and let's start off with adjusting our first image here. So I'm going to click this gear icon, click on design. Next, we're going to come over here to sizing. So here where it says forceful width, we're going to make sure that this is set to no. And then we're going to come over here to the width and set it at 60%, like that. Now, what you also need to do is to make sure you click this little icon here and adjust the sizes for the tablet and the smartphone. So I'm going to click on tablet. So this needs to be fine at 100% and smartphone at 100%. Okay, so that's looking great. Now it's time to adjust the second image. So I'm going to save this for now. And then I'm going to come over here to my image module, click on settings, design, sizing. So again, as we did before, forceful width needs to be set to no. And then the width here needs to be set at 70%. And then over here for the module alignment, we need to set this to right. And then finally, we need to go into our custom margins. And then over here, we need to set it to minus 20% top, like that. So now that all our settings are done, let's move on to the next row. So the next row we're going to work on is this one here, which has 3 columns. So let's start off with this image. So I'm going to click this gear icon here. Click on design, sizing. And then as we did before, we're going to say no to forceful width. And then our width is going to be set to 90%. And then for our tablet and smartphone, we're going to set it to 50%. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come over here, click on tablet, set this to 50%. And then for the smartphone, make sure that this is set to 50%. So the reason why we're doing this is just to make sure that this page layout looks great on all mobile devices and also on the desktop. Now it's time to adjust our margins. So I'm going to come over here to setting, to spacing, and then I'm going to set it to -30%, and then we can go ahead and save. Okay, so over here on the third section, we're going to start off by adjusting the dummy text. So I'm going to click this gear icon here to get into the module settings, click on design, and then I'm going to come over here to spacing. And we are going to make sure that our custom margin is set to 50% to the right. So I'm going to add my 50%. So for now, I'm going to save, and then I'm going to come over here to this dummy text, click in the gear icon to access the settings, click on design, sizing, and then we're going to do something similar, but this time we need to set this to about 65%. And then for the tablet and smartphone, it's fine at 100%. So let's save this for now. So the style that we need to add to this image needs to be the same style that we have here on the top, which has this drop shadow. So let's copy the styles from here. So I'm going to click on copy style. And by the way, you need to right click in order for you to get this dialog. So I'm going to right click, click on copy style, and then I'm going to come over here to my image, right click, and then paste. And now you can see all our settings have been pasted onto this image. And then what we also need to do is to add our settings. So I'm going to click this gear icon, click on design, and then I'm going to come over here to spacing. So the first thing I'm going to do is to add a negative margin. So I'm going to come over here to the left and add -30%. And then for the top, it's going to be 10%. Like that. So let's save, and then let's take a look at what we have so far. So if you're following step by step, this is what your design should look like. Okay, so we're not done yet. We're going to continue and add more customizations, especially to our text headings. Okay, so the final wave of design is making the text vertical, but this time we are going to use custom CSS. Now, if you'd like to know how to do this and you'd like to use the custom CSS, which achieves this vertical text, I'm going to leave a link in the comments box below so you can go to the article and use the exact same code. So what I'm going to do now is to go to my page settings and paste the CSS code. So I've already copied the code in my clipboard. So I'm going to come over here to my page settings. I'm going to click this icon right here. So here's my page settings. All I got to do now is to go into advanced, click on custom CSS, and then I'm going to paste my CSS in here. So now that I've my CSS code, I'm going to click on save. Okay, so what we need to do next is to go into these titles and make further adjustments. So I'm going to start off by going into this first one here, bake. Click on the gear icon. So first of all, I'm going to start by adding my custom margins. So I'm going to click here on spacing. And then for the top, I'm going to add 10%. And then -40% to the right. And then finally, what we need to do here to achieve the rotation, we need to click on advanced, and then we need to add the CSS class. So I'm going to paste my CSS class here. And by the way, the CSS class is rotate-left. So now, as soon as I've added that class, you can see here that this has rotated. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and save. Now let's come over here to this text which says starters. I'm going to click this gear icon as well, click on design. And as we did before, we're going to come over here to our spacing and adjust our margins. So I'm going to start off with the top, which needs to be at 20%, and then right at 75%. Right, so now that we have that in place, we're going to come over here to advanced, and then we're also going to add our CSS class. So I'm going to click over here on the class, and then the class needs to be rotate right. So now we can see that this has now worked. So let's go ahead and save. Next, let's come over here to the text which says coffee. I'm going to come over here to my module settings, click on design. Right, so let's go over here to spacing and adjust our margins. So the margin that we need on the top is 80%. So let's go ahead and add that. And then to the right, it needs to be 15%. So let's add that. And then we need to go to the advanced tab, click on our CSS ID and classes, And then the class we need to add here is rotate right. So now you can see this has rotated right. Okay, so the final one here is the word crab. Let's come over here to our module settings, click on design. So as we did before, we're going to start off by adjusting our margins. So all we need to do here is the minus 20% on the right. So let's add that. And then we need to go into the advanced tab, add our class, and this time it needs to be rotated to the left. So that's our class. And then you can see here it's rotated left. So that's all we need to do. Okay, so now let's take a look at our final design. So I'm going to come over here and save, and then I'm just going to exit the visual builder like that. And then let's take a look at our page one more time. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and do follow us on our social media platforms. By doing so, you'll be notified every time we release new videos. Until next time, thanks for watching and see you soon.